The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, cutting through Earth's regular communication channels like a knife through paper. Admiral Hyan-Woo was drinking his morning coffee in his office at the Global Defense Command when the emergency alert flashed across every screen in the building. "We have an incoming transmission from outside the solar system," reported Lieutenant Commander Yoon-ji, bursting through his office door. Her face was pale, and her hands shook slightly as she held the datapad. Hyan-Woo set down his coffee cup and looked at the young officer. "From where exactly?" "The Proxima Centauri system, sir. But it's not from any human colony. The signal is using quantum frequencies we've never seen before." Within minutes, the command center was buzzing with activity. Scientists, military officers, and government officials gathered around the massive holographic display as the alien message played. The voice that spoke was cold and mechanical, translated by advanced computer systems that somehow understood the foreign language. "People of Earth," the voice began, "you are summoned to appear before the Galactic Court. Your species has violated the territorial agreements of the Confederation. You have 7 standard days to arrive at the neutral station orbiting Proxima. Tertius, failure to appear will result in immediate military action." The room fell silent. For decades, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was not what anyone had hoped for. Admiral Hyan-Woo stood up slowly. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm eyes that had seen many battles. "Get me President Park on the line and contact Dr. Minho immediately. We need to assemble a delegation." 3 days later, the human delegation boarded the newly constructed starship Unity. It was Earth's most advanced vessel, equipped with the latest fusion drives and quantum communication systems. But as they approached the massive alien station, even Admiral Hyan-Woo felt small. The station was enormous, easily 10 times larger than any structure humans had ever built. It gleamed with an otherworldly light, its surface covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Strange ships from different worlds floated around it like moths around a flame. "My God," whispered Dr. Yoon-ji, staring out the viewport. She was Earth's leading expert on theoretical physics and had been chosen to help present humanity's case. "How long do you think they've been building things like this?" Captain Dong-ho, the young commander of the Unity, checked his instruments. "The energy readings are off the charts. This thing could power our entire planet for 1,000 years." Ambassador Sora, Earth's most experienced diplomat, sat quietly in her chair. She had spent her entire career negotiating with human governments. Now she would have to face beings that might not even think like humans at all. When they docked with the station, the humans were met by a creature that looked like it was made of living crystal. It spoke without moving what might have been its mouth. "You are the Earth delegation. Follow the guide path to the court chamber. Do not deviate from the marked route." The corridors of the station were vast and filled with beings the humans had never imagined. Some floated like balls of light. Others skittered on multiple legs like giant insects. A few looked almost human, but had skin that changed colors like a rainbow. "Stay together," Admiral Hyan-Woo whispered to his team. "And remember, we represent all of humanity today." The court chamber was a circular room with a high ceiling that seemed to stretch into infinity. 7 raised platforms surrounded a small area in the center where the humans were directed to stand. On each platform sat representatives of different alien species. The first was clearly the crystal being they had met earlier, but larger and more complex. Its body caught the light and threw it back in dazzling patterns. When it spoke, its voice echoed like wind chimes. "I am the voice of the Vorthan Empire. We have ruled this sector for 3,000 years. The second platform held what looked like a giant insect, the one that wore robes and had intelligent eyes. Its voice buzzed like a swarm of bees. The Klaxon Hive speaks as one mind with 10 billion voices. We have knowledge of all things biological. The third was the strangest yet. It appeared to be made of pure energy, shifting between different forms every few seconds. When it communicated, the words appeared directly in the humans' minds. The Luminary Collective exists beyond your physical limitations. We are thought and light and power. 4 more species introduced themselves. Each one seemed more advanced and more powerful than the last. The humans stood in the center of the room, feeling very small and very alone. Finally, the crystal being, who seemed to be the leader, spoke again. Earth delegation, you stand accused of violating the Galactic Confederation's territorial laws. Your species has expanded into sectors that were restricted to primitive civilizations. You have built colonies and established trade routes without permission. Admiral Hyanwu stepped forward. We were not aware that these laws existed. Our species has only recently developed interstellar travel. A sound that might have been laughter came from several of the alien representatives. Ignorance is not an excuse, buzzed the insect creature. Your kind has been watched for decades. You were classified as a level 2 civilization, restricted to your home system until you proved worthy of galactic membership, the energy being pulsed brighter. Instead, you spread like a virus, claiming worlds and resources without thought for the greater order. Dr. Yoonji squeezed her hands together to stop them from shaking. This was worse than their worst fears. They weren't just meeting aliens, they were on trial. The crystal leader continued. The court has decided to offer you a choice. Submit to galactic law, accept the territorial restrictions, and place your military under Confederation oversight. Your expansion will be controlled, your weapons limited, and your civilization will be monitored. And if we refuse, asked Ambassador Sora, though she was afraid to hear the answer, then the 7 species of the Confederation will combine our fleets and remove the threat you represent. Your colonies will be destroyed, your home world will be occupied, and your species will be relocated to a single planet under permanent supervision. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of alien technology. The humans looked at each other, each seeing the same fear in the other's eyes. How long do we have to decide? Admiral Hyanwu asked. 72 standard hours, replied the crystal being. Return to your ship and consider carefully. The choice you make will determine the future of your entire species. As the humans walked back through the station's corridors, they could feel alien eyes watching them. Some of the creatures they passed seemed curious, others appeared hostile. All of them looked at the humans like they were looking at primitive animals that had somehow learned to walk upright. What are we going to do? Whispered Captain Dung Ho once they were safely back aboard the Unity. Admiral, who looked out at the alien station and the strange ships surrounding it. We're going to contact Earth and see if our friends back home have any ideas. Because right now, we need a miracle. None of them noticed the small device hidden in the Unity's communication array. A device that had been quietly recording everything since they arrived at the station. And none of them knew that similar devices were already in place throughout the galaxy, waiting for the right moment to activate. The humans thought they were facing an impossible choice. They had no idea that Earth had been preparing for this moment for years. The emergency session began at midnight in the underground bunker beneath Seoul. General Taemin sat at the head of the long metal table, his weathered face lit by the glow of dozens of screens showing data from across the galaxy. Around him sat the most important people on Earth, all waiting to hear what humanity would do next. Admiral Hyanwu had returned from the alien station just hours before. His report still echoed in everyone's minds. 7 alien species, each more powerful than humanity could imagine, were demanding Earth's surrender or complete destruction. The situation is clear, General Taemin said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We have less than 60 hours to give the aliens our answer. We either submit to their control or face a war. We cannot win with traditional methods. Minho, a thin man with thick glasses and nervous hands, stood up from his chair. He had been quiet during the entire briefing, but now all eyes turned to him. He was the head of a project so secret that even most of the people in this room had never heard of it. General, I believe it is time to tell them about Dandelion. Dr. Minho said. Engineer Eugene, a young woman who rarely spoke in these high-level meetings, looked up from her tablet. She had been working on something that even she didn't fully understand until this moment. Project Dandelion, Admiral Hyanwu. I've seen that name in classified reports, but nobody ever explained what it was. General Taman nodded slowly. Dr. Minho, show them. The lights dimmed and a massive holographic display filled the center of the room. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of tiny red dots scattered across it. Each dot pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. For the past 15 years, Dr. Minho began. We have been placing special devices on every world, every station, and every ship that humans have visited. We told our trading partners they were scientific instruments. We told diplomats they were cultural gifts. We told explorers they were emergency beacons. Colonel J1, a man who had led special operations across the galaxy, leaned forward in his chair. You mean every mission I ran, every base I visited, I was carrying one of these things? It's not just carrying, said Engineer Eugene, speaking up for the first time. Installing. Every human who has left Earth in the past decade has been part of Project Dandelion, whether they knew it or not. The room fell silent as the truth sank in. Every trade mission, every diplomatic visit, every exploration voyage had been covered for the largest intelligence operation in human history. What do these devices do? Asked Admiral Hyun-Woo. Dr. Minho smiled for the first time since the crisis began. They listen. They learn. And when activated, they can disrupt alien technology in ways our enemies cannot imagine. Engineer Eugene touched her tablet and the holographic display changed. Now, it showed detailed information about each alien species from the Galactic Court. Dea, Vorthan Empire's crystal technology operates on specific sound frequencies, she explained. Our devices can create interference patterns that will make their ships and weapons useless. The Klaxon Hive uses biological computers that share information instantly across their entire species. Dr. Minho continued. Our devices can jam those connections and leave them confused and isolated. The Luminari Collective exists as pure energy, added Eugene. But energy can be disrupted by precisely timed electromagnetic pulses. Admiral Hyanwu stared at the display in amazement. You mean we've been studying them this entire time? Every human who has ever met an alien has been gathering intelligence, confirmed General Taman. Every conversation, every trade deal, every cultural exchange has been carefully recorded and analyzed. We know their weaknesses better than they know them themselves. Colonel J1 shook his head in disbelief. And I thought my missions were just about making friends and finding new resources. They were, said Dr. Minho, but they were also about preparing for this day. We always knew that eventually we would encounter a hostile alien civilization. We just didn't know it would be 7 of them at once. The holographic display zoomed in on specific locations. Red dots appeared on the alien homeworlds, on their military stations, even on some of their warships. How many devices do we have in place? Asked Admiral Hyun-Woo. Engineer Eugene checked her tablet. Over 40,000 active units across the galaxy. Some alien worlds have hundreds of our devices hidden in their cities, their power plants, their communication centers. And they never suspected anything. They saw us as primitive, General Taman said, with a slight smile. Species that still uses chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. They never imagined we could develop quantum-based technology that could threaten them. Dr. Minho brought up another display showing Earth's defense preparations. While they were laughing at our primitive weapons, we were building something they couldn't detect or understand. The meeting continued for hours as the full scope of Project Dandelion was revealed. Humanity had not been expanding randomly across the galaxy. Every colony, every trade route, every diplomatic mission had been part of a carefully planned strategy to position their secret weapons exactly where they would be most effective. As dawn broke over Seoul, Admiral Hyenwoo prepared to return to the alien station. This time, he would not be going as a representative of a primitive species begging for mercy. He would be going as the voice of a civilization that had been preparing for war while pretending to seek peace. "Are you sure this will work?" he asked Dr. Minho as they walked toward the launch pad. "The calculations are solid," the scientist replied. "Okay, but we've never tested it on this scale before." Engineer Eugene joined them, carrying a small device that looked like a simple communication unit. "This will let you activate the system from the alien station," she said. "Once you give the command, every Dandelion device in the galaxy will begin transmitting simultaneously." "What should I tell the Galactic Court?" Admiral Hyenwoo asked. General Timon smiled grimly. "Tell them that Earth refuses their ultimatum. Tell them that humanity will defend itself. And tell them that we have planted seeds across the galaxy that are about to bloom." As the Unity launched toward the alien station, Admiral Hyenwoo felt something he hadn't felt in days: hope. The aliens thought they were dealing with a species of primitive warriors. They were about to discover that humans were something far more dangerous, a species of patient planners who had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. The Galactic Court was expecting Earth to surrender or fight with conventional weapons. Instead, they were about to face an enemy that had been hiding in plain sight all along, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology, but their ability to think 10 steps ahead of their enemies. The real war was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. The Galactic Court chamber was filled with the same 7 alien species, but this time their mood was different. They were no longer curious about the primitive humans. Now they were angry and impatient. Quote, "The crystal being that led to Vorthen." Empire pulsed with harsh light as Admiral Hyenwoo and his delegation entered the room. "Earth delegation," the crystal leader spoke, its voice echoing like breaking glass. "Your time is finished. What is your answer to the Confederation's demands?" Admiral Hyenwoo walked to the center of the chamber, his back straight and his voice calm. Behind him, Dr. Yoonji carried what looked like a simple communication device. Captain Dong-ho and Ambassador Sora flanked them on either side. "We have considered your offer carefully," Admiral Hyenwoo said, looking up at each of the 7 platforms. "Earth's answer is no. We will not submit to your control, and we will not abandon our colonies." The insect creature from the klaxon hive buzzed loudly, a sound that filled the chamber like angry wasps. "Then you choose destruction. Your species will be eliminated as a threat to galactic peace." "We choose to defend ourselves," replied Admiral Hyenwoo calmly. The energy being that was the Luminary Collective flashed brighter, and his thoughts appeared in the humans' minds like burning words. "Defend yourselves. With what?" "Your chemical. Rockets and metal bullets." "With seeds," said Dr. Yunji, stepping forward. "We told you that we had planted seeds throughout the galaxy. Did you think we were speaking in metaphors?" Laughter echoed through the chamber. Not the kind of laughter that comes from joy, but the cruel laughter of beings who thought they were superior. The Vorthen leader's crystal body rang like a bell. "Seeds," it repeated mockingly. "The primitive humans think they can fight advanced civilizations with gardening." Other alien representatives joined in the mockery. The chamber filled with buzzing, flashing lights, and sounds that hurt human ears. They thought Earth's delegation had lost their minds. Admiral Hyan Wu raised his hand for silence, but the aliens continued laughing. He looked at Dr. Yuanji and nodded slightly. She lifted the communication device and pressed a single button. Dandelion protocol is now active, she said quietly. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The aliens continued their mocking laughter. But then, slowly, things began to change. On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Sung Min sat in Earth's deep space monitoring station. Eyes screens suddenly filled with signals from thousands of locations. Dandelion activation confirmed. He reported to his team. All devices are responding. Lieutenant Hai-1, the communications specialist, watched as her equipment registered signals from alien homeworlds, military bases, and starships. Sir, we're getting responses from over 38,000 units. The network is fully operational. Back in the Galactic Court, the first sign of trouble came from the Vorthan Empire's representative. His crystal body began to flicker, and his voice became distorted. What is happening? He demanded, but his words came out broken and strange. The Klaxon Hive representative started moving erratically, its multiple legs clicking against the platform in random patterns. The buzzing sound it made became chaotic and painful to hear. Something is interfering with our connection to the hive mind, it said, but its voice was confused and uncertain. The Luminari Collective's energy form began to pulse irregularly, sometimes bright, sometimes dim. For the first time in the conversation, it spoke out loud instead of projecting thoughts. Our quantum coherence is being disrupted, it said, its voice sounding weak and strained. Admiral Hyan Wu watched as the 7 most powerful species in the galaxy began to experience technical difficulties. The seeds we planted were not foreign, growing plants, he explained calmly. They were quantum resonance devices designed specifically to disrupt your technologies. Dr. Yuanji activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy-wide network. Thousands of red dots pulsed in perfect synchronization across hundreds of worlds. For 15 years, every human who left Earth carried these devices, she continued. Every trade mission, every diplomatic visit, every exploration voyage was an opportunity to study your technology and place our countermeasures on the Vorthan homeworld. Crystal spires that had stood for millennia began to crack as harmonic frequencies disrupted their molecular structure. Power grids failed across the planet as the resonance devices created interference patterns that the crystal technology could not handle. In the Klaxon Hive's nested cities, biological computers that had linked billions of minds for centuries suddenly went silent. Individual Klaxons found themselves alone in their own thoughts for the first time in their lives, confused and frightened by the experience. The Luminari Collective's energy networks across the galaxy flickered and dimmed as electromagnetic pulses disrupted their quantum connections. Beings of pure thought found themselves struggling to maintain their coherence back on Earth. Dr. Kung Su monitored the quantum effects from his laboratory. The resonance cascade is spreading faster than we predicted, he reported to Major BORAM. Their entire technological infrastructure is beginning to collapse. Major BORAM coordinated the defense systems as alien fleets throughout the galaxy found their weapons offline and their navigation systems failing. All defense stations report that approaching enemy ships are dead in space, she announced. In the Galactic Court chamber, the 7 alien representatives were no longer laughing. They were struggling to maintain their basic functions as their most advanced technologies failed around them. This is impossible, gasped the crystal being, its light growing dimmer. No primitive species could develop this level of quantum engineering. That's where you made your mistake, said Admiral Hyan Wu. You assumed we were primitive because we still used kinetic weapons and chemical rockets. You never considered that we might be developing quantum technology in secret. Captain Dongko spoke for the first time in the chamber. While you were showing off your advanced weapons, we were learning how they worked. Every time you demonstrated your power, you were teaching us how to defeat it. The insect creature from the Klaxon hive tried to move, but stumbled on its platform. The biological computers, they're all offline. We cannot access the hive mind database. Your biological systems operate on quantum-entangled neural networks, explained Dr. Yunji. Our devices are specifically designed to break those connections. Ambassador Sora finally spoke, her diplomatic training keeping her voice calm despite the chaos around them. We tried to be peaceful. We tried to coexist. But you demanded our surrender or our destruction. You gave us no choice but to defend ourselves. The energy being that was the Luminary Collective flickered weakly. How did you know our weaknesses? 'Cause you told us, Admiral Hyanwu replied. Every conversation, every cultural exchange, every trade negotiation was an opportunity to learn. You thought you were dealing with primitive animals, so you never bothered to hide your secrets. Across the galaxy, the most advanced civilizations in known space found themselves powerless. Their weapons were offline, their communications were jammed, and their most basic technologies were failing. The galactic court that had summoned Earth to surrender was now at the mercy of the species they had dismissed as primitive gardeners. The seeds humanity had planted were not flowers or food crops. They were the instruments of the most sophisticated military operation in galactic history, and they had been growing in secret for 15 years, waiting for this moment to bloom. The galactic court chamber had fallen silent except for the sound of failing alien technology. Sparks flew from control panels, holographic displays flickered and died. And the 7 most powerful species in the galaxy found themselves helpless. Admiral Hyanwu stood in the center of the chaos, completely calm. This is how humans fight wars, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We don't attack your ships or bomb your cities. We make your own technology turn against you. Intelligence Chief Wu Jin appeared on a communication screen that somehow still worked despite all the technical failures around it. He had been monitoring the situation from Earth's command center, watching as alien civilizations across the galaxy experienced total system failures. Admiral, all primary targets are reporting complete technical shutdown, Wu Jin said. A tear. Military fleets are dead in space. Our planetary defense systems are offline. Their communication networks have collapsed. Ki Yunji activated a portable holographic projector that showed the extent of the damage. The display revealed hundreds of worlds where the lights had gone out, where the great machines of alien civilizations had simply stopped working. Every major Worthen crystal city is experiencing harmonic cascade failure, she reported. A tar. Resonance frequencies have been disrupted beyond repair. It will take them years to rebuild their infrastructure. The crystal being that led the Vorthen Empire tried to speak, but its voice came out as static and broken sounds. Its body had lost most of its brilliant light and now looked dull and cracked. The Klaxon hive worlds are experiencing total biological computer failure, continued Dr. Yunji. Without their shared consciousness network, individual Klaxons are unable to coordinate their society. They've essentially been reduced to isolated individuals. The insect creature on the platform made clicking sounds but could no longer form words. Its multiple eyes looked around frantically, searching for a connection to the hive mind that was no longer there. The Luminary Collective has lost quantum coherence across 17 star systems, Dr. Yunji added. Their energy beings are struggling to maintain their basic existence without their quantum network. The energy creature flickered weakly, sometimes almost disappearing entirely before managing to pull itself back together. It no longer looked like a being of pure power. Now it seemed fragile and desperate. Scientist Herine joined the communication. From Earth, her voice excited despite the serious situation. The quantum resonance effect is spreading faster than we calculated. The alien technologies are so interconnected that disrupting one system causes cascading failures throughout their entire civilization. Admiral Hyen Wu looked up at the 7 platforms where the alien representatives were struggling with their failing systems. You wanted to know how primitive humans could challenge advanced civilizations. The answer is simple. We learned everything about you while you learned nothing about us. Captain Dong Ho stepped forward, carrying a datapad filled with information. Every human trade mission to your worlds included scientists and engineers who studied your technology. Every cultural exchange was an opportunity to map your computer systems. Every diplomatic dinner was a chance to plant listening devices. Ambassador Sora spoke next, her diplomatic training helping her explain the situation clearly. You made a fundamental mistake. You assumed that because we used simple weapons, we had simple minds. You never considered that we might be smarter than we appeared. The screen showing Intelligence Chief Wu Jin switched to display detailed files on each alien species. The information was incredibly detailed, showing technology, specifications, cultural practices, military tactics, and, most importantly, critical weaknesses. We know that Vorthen crystals shatter when exposed to specific sound frequencies, Wu Jin explained. We know that Klaxon biological computers rely on quantum entanglement that can be disrupted by electromagnetic interference. We know that luminary energy beings lose coherence when their quantum fields are scrambled. Dr. Yunji brought up another display showing the timeline of human intelligence gathering. This operation began the moment we made first contact with any alien species. Every seemingly innocent interaction was part of a larger plan. It's the Altarian trade delegation that visited Earth 5 years ago, she continued. They thought they were selling us rare metals. Actually, they were allowing our scientists to study their gravity manipulation technology. One of the alien representatives, a creature that looked like a walking tree, tried to speak but only managed a weak, rustling sound. Its bioelectric systems have been disrupted by the quantum interference. The Helix Federation's Cultural Exchange Program. Dr. Yunji went on. They thought they were teaching us about their art and music. We were learning how their crystalline memory storage systems worked. The Voidwalker Exploration Joint Venture. Captain Donko added. They thought we were junior partners in mapping new star systems. We were actually studying their dimensional travel technology and finding ways to disrupt it. Admiral Hyen Wu activated his own communication device, and the screen showed scenes from across the galaxy. Alien fleets floated helplessly in space. Great cities that had stood for millennia were dark and silent. The most powerful civilizations in known space had been reduced to pre-technological societies in a matter of hours. The beautiful part of our plan, Admiral Hyen Wu explained, is that we used your own arrogance against you. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never bothered to hide your weaknesses. You showed us exactly how to defeat you. Intelligence Chief Wu Jin brought up classified files that showed decades of careful planning. Every human colony was positioned to give a strategic advantage. Every trade route was designed to place our agents close to alien infrastructure. Every diplomatic mission was covered for intelligence gathering. Scientist Heron appeared on screen again, this time showing technical diagrams. The quantum devices we planted don't just disrupt your technology, they learn and adapt. The longer they operate, the more effective they become. Your systems will continue to degrade until you're back to using primitive tools. How long? Gasped the energy being, using most of its remaining power to form words. That depends on you, Admiral Hyen Wu replied. The devices can be deactivated, but only if you agree to new terms. Ambassador Sora stepped forward with a formal document. Humanity is prepared to offer a different kind of relationship, not the domination you demanded from us, but true partnership between equals. You're not in a position to make demands, Admiral Hyen Wu said firmly. Your fleets are disabled, your worlds are powerless, and your civilizations are collapsing. But we're not conquerors, offering you a chance to rebuild based on mutual respect instead of fear. The 7 alien species that had laughed at Earth's defense plan now faced a choice. They could continue to resist and watch their civilizations crumble, or they could accept that they had underestimated humanity in the worst possible way. The species they had dismissed as primitive gardeners had just proven that sometimes the quietest enemy is the most dangerous one. 3 months had passed since the activation of Project Dandelion. The galaxy was a very different place now. In the rebuilt conference chamber of what was once the Galactic Court, representatives from 8 species sat around a circular table. This time, there were no raised platforms looking down on anyone. Everyone sat as equals. Admiral Hyan Wu looked around the table at faces that had once been hostile and arrogant. Now they showed respect, and in some cases, genuine friendship. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. The reformed Galactic Confederation is now officially established, announced Ambassador Sora, reading from the treaty document. COM member species agreed to the principles of mutual respect, shared knowledge, and collective security. COM, the Vorthan representative, a smaller crystal being named Cathara, pulsed with gentle blue light. Its people had learned to build new crystal structures that were beautiful but less vulnerable to harmonic disruption. The Vorthan Empire formally apologizes for our past arrogance, Cathara said, its voice now musical rather than harsh. We have learned much from human engineering. Our new crystal cities are stronger and more beautiful than anything we built before. Dr. Yunji smiled at the compliment. She had spent weeks working with Vorthian scientists, sharing human knowledge about resonance patterns while learning about crystal technology. The cooperation had produced amazing results for both species. The Klaxon hive has also changed our ways, buzzed Sixenth, the insect representative. We have learned that individual thought can be just as valuable as collective consciousness. Many of our people now choose to think independently while still contributing to the greater good. Captain Dung Ho nodded approvingly. He had been working with Klaxon engineers to develop new types of biological computers that were more resilient and creative. The results were helping both species advance their technology. The Luminary Collective has discovered new forms of existence, said the energy being called Lumdeses. Its form was more stable now, glowing with steady light instead of the chaotic flashing from before. Working with human physicists, we have found ways to exist both as energy and in physical form. General Taman appeared on the communication screen from Earth. The military cooperation treaties are working well. Joint patrols are protecting trade routes that benefit all our species. Former enemies are now working together to explore unknown regions of space. Engineer Yijin had been busy designing new starships that combined human engineering with alien technology. The results were vessels more advanced than anything any single species could have built alone. The new exploration fleet is ready for launch, she reported. Ships using Vorthine crystal power cores, Klaxon biological computers, luminary energy, shields, and human quantum navigation systems. Together, we can reach parts of the galaxy that no one has ever seen before. Dr. Minho, who had created Project Dandelion, now worked openly with alien scientists instead of studying them in secret. The research exchange program has produced incredible discoveries. We're developing technologies that none of us could have imagined working alone. Colonel J1 had perhaps the biggest change of all. Instead of running secret missions to gather intelligence, he now led joint training exercises where human and alien military forces learned to work together. The new security protocols are working perfectly, he reported. Former enemies are now allies protecting each other's worlds. The galaxy is more peaceful than it has been in centuries. Intelligence Chief Wu Jin had transitioned from spying on aliens to coordinating information sharing between all species. The Open Intelligence Network has identified several new threats from outside our region. Working together, we can defend against dangers that would have destroyed any of us individually. The energy being lumtizes pulsed brighter. We must ask again about the dandelion devices. Are they still active throughout our territories? Admiral Hyanwu nodded calmly. They remain in place, but they're no longer weapons. We've reprogrammed them to serve as emergency communication relays and early warning systems. If any external threat appears, all our species will know immediately. And if one of us breaks the treaty, asked Kathira from the Vorthon Empire, then the devices could theoretically be reactivated, Dr. Yunji admitted. But we hope that day never comes. The galaxy is better when we work together instead of fighting each other. Ambassador Sora stood up and activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. Where once there had been territorial borders and conflict zones, now there were joint colonies and shared research stations. The reformed Confederation has achieved something the old Galactic Court never could, she said. True cooperation between equals instead of domination by the strong over the weak. Captain Dong Ho brought up images from the latest joint exploration mission. 3 months ago, we were enemies preparing for war. Today, mixed crews of humans and aliens are discovering new worlds together. A tree-like Altarian representative, Gruffin, spoke in its rustling voice. Our people have learned much from human agricultural techniques. Our worlds are producing more food than ever before, and we're sharing it with species whose planets cannot grow enough crops. The Helix Federation has combined our crystalline memory technology with human quantum computers, added their representative. We can now store and process information in ways that seemed impossible before. The Voidwalkers have perfected dimensional travel using human navigation improvements, said their delegate. We can now explore alternate realities safely, opening up infinite possibilities for discovery. Scientist Hereen appeared on screen from her laboratory. The joint research projects are exceeding all expectations. We're developing medical treatments that can help all carbon-based life forms. Energy manipulation techniques that benefit both physical and energy beings, and communication methods that work across all types of consciousness. Admiral Hyanwu looked around the table one more time. 6 months ago, you summoned us to this station to demand our surrender. Today, we're partners exploring the universe together. Sometimes the best outcome comes from the most unexpected beginning. Humans taught us that strength doesn't always come from superior technology, said Kathira. Atina, sometimes it comes from superior thinking and patience. And we learn that even the most advanced civilizations can be taught new things, added Sixth Synth. Your species showed us that there's always room to grow and improve. The galaxy is vast and full of mysteries, said Lumdizes. Working together, we can solve problems and face challenges that would be impossible for any of us alone. As the meeting ended, Admiral Hyanwu walked to the observation deck and looked out at the space around the station. Ships from 8 different species moved in perfect coordination, their crews working together as if they had been allies for centuries instead of months. Captain Dong Ho joined him at the window. Do you think it will last? This peace we've built? As long as everyone remembers the lesson, Admiral Hyanwu replied. Never underestimate the species that seems weakest, okay? And never assume that superior technology means superior intelligence. In the distance, a joint exploration fleet prepared to depart for unknown regions of space. Human ships flew alongside crystal vessels, biological craft, and beings of pure energy, all working toward the same goal. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their military strength. It was their ability to think ahead, to plan carefully, and to turn their apparent weaknesses into unexpected advantages. The Galactic Court had laughed at Earth's defense plan. Now the Reformed Confederation worked together because of it. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to make your enemies into friends. And sometimes the most dangerous species is the one that nobody takes seriously until it's too late.